Hello everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the OnePlus 11 and see how this particular phone holds up in 2024. Now, the thing I will tell you about the OnePlus 11 is that this is one of those devices that I think was great on paper. It's gotten better over time, but it was a good device that I had a lot of trouble with when I first bought it, and I was comparing it against a lot of other devices at the time. So if you want to pick up this phone or maybe some other phones I'd recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. So with that out of the way, let me just explain. So last year when this phone came out, I went ahead and bought it. OnePlus did not send me this phone. I bought it just like everyone else. And literally it was the craziest thing because I never had such a weird experience owning a phone like the OnePlus 11. The thing is that when I picked this phone up and I actually messed around with it, like body wise, it was a very good phone. Like it felt really good in the hand and it still feels like a very expensive phone. When I compare this phone against, phones like the Google Pixel 8 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and the Galaxy S24 Ultra, these types of devices, the OnePlus 11 stacks up fairly well against those types of devices. The only issue I was getting with something like the OnePlus 11 was the software and the performance I was getting and the battery life. So the body was the one thing I really can't complain too much about. You are getting that 6.7-inch LTPO3 Fluid AMOLED display, and it's a pretty good panel. It gets 1300 nits of brightness, which isn't that high, but you're still maintaining a 120Hz display, and it's a 1440p panel. And I actually do like the curved glass on these things. Like these phones, OnePlus still keeps the curved glass on their phones. It looks very good, at least they did on this time, and they look very, very good. I like these phone panels, but it's already lacking in a few areas. One, the fact that this thing only gets 1300 nits of peak brightness can be kind of a turnoff for a lot of people. Like if I'm going through and if I'm buying a phone, I want it to have as much capability and as much quality as possible. And with this phone already kind of lacking from that perspective, that can be kind of somewhat of a turnoff, like for me if I'm buying this type of phone. So that right there was one thing, but it really wasn't even that big of a deal, and I don't really care about it that much, to be honest. You're getting that USB Type-C port on the bottom of this phone, the buttons on the side of this phone as well. On the back side, you're getting this camera setup, which OnePlus spends a lot of time talking about their cameras, and I don't feel like they do that great of a job, and I'll still explain throughout this video. And I don't want to hate on OnePlus. I love OnePlus still. I think they're, just need to put their head in the right, area in some ways. And I used to love Oxygen OS, now I don't really like it that much anymore. You're getting this frosted glass back, which is great. And for all, it's a really good, well-built phone. I think it's a great phone. You are missing out on a few things, like there's no reverse wireless charging. And overall on a phone, like in this day and age, you should probably expect it. But it is an okay phone for the most part on the outside. You're getting IP certification as well. I would take that back. It's an excellent performing phone on the outside. It looks very good. But then you start getting into the internals, like with the camera. This thing has a triple camera setup, a 50 megapixel wide, 32 megapixel telephoto, then a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera, and a 16 megapixel camera on the front. They give you 8K capability on the back, which is really good, and I love having that, but you're only getting 1080p at 30 on the front. That is a very weird thing for OnePlus to do. I feel like on the OnePlus 11, a phone that came out in 2023, you need to have 4K at 60 on the front base on every model, no matter what. If this thing only has 1080p at 30, that is a major turnoff, especially for someone like me. Sometimes I want to film in 4K at 60 on the front on some videos I make, and I can't have that type of capability on this phone. So that's a really sad thing going on for this particular device. On top of that, another big thing is that I would tell you the quality of these cameras aren't even that great either. They say that they team up with Hasselblad and all this other stuff. I don't know, Samsung does a really good job in their cameras, and I've seen some other phone manufacturers, even like Google, these big manufacturers have a lot of time and money they can spend on their phones, but I feel like it's not that hard. Like with OnePlus, they really make phones, they make some headphones and tablets now, but their main product is really phones, and they talk so much about their cameras, and I feel like they could be doing an overall better job from their camera systems. I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the future, but this is the one area where I look at, and I genuinely do feel like OnePlus phones, they just need to do a better job from the camera side. And even inside of social media apps and all that other stuff, that's another whole area they need to work on. But another big thing is actually with the software behind the cameras. The camera software also isn't that great. It's clunky. I feel like, again, I would rather just download the APK file like Google Pixel Camera, Gcam, or Samsung Camera and use those if I can. If not, I don't really love using this camera APK or this camera app either, to be honest. So that's another minor thing to kind of keep in mind there too. On top of that, with the OnePlus, 11, this is another interesting thing. The prices of this particular phone are still kind of keeping value. right? This phone is available in some conditions. You can buy it probably around $500 in the used market, probably cheaper than that. And the thing I'll definitely tell you about this particular phone is that it's actually not that bad of a priced phone for what you're getting hardware-wise, like chipset-wise. But again, when you are comparing this phone against the performance and the chipsets of some other devices, this thing may not be the best performing device from that perspective either. I personally do feel like if I'm going to go ahead and buy a phone, I want it to be as good of a value as I can get it to be. And with this type of device, I mean, it's a good value phone for what you're getting, but I've probably seen better devices for the most part as well. So that kind of, covers it up there. Now, software-wise, this is another very interesting thing. This particular device, in my opinion, is going to be giving you a fairly good software longevity, I would say, for the most part, with a device like this, which is actually fairly cool. So the thing I love the most about these particular devices is that you are going to be getting a device that is actually fairly decent for the most part with these types of phones. So the software longevity is not that bad, but the software experience isn't really that great. A lot of people have complained about, this particular version of software like ColorOS. That's been one of the more annoying things people have had. And I will definitely tell you, in my opinion, if I'm going to go and have a phone that has this type of experience with software, that can be kind of a turnoff for some people because a lot of people don't like it. So that right there is another somewhat minor thing to keep in mind. Again, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but the software longevity might be okay, but the software experience may not be that great, which can be, again, kind of an annoying thing for some people. So keep that in mind, but that kind of covers it up there. Now, on top of that, I will tell you the performance of this phone, once again, isn't really that bad. It's probably one of the better things going on for this phone. So you're getting that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8 or 12 or 16 gigabytes of RAM on this particular phone. So that is something that's actually really cool with this type of device, because you can go ahead and just use this phone as you normally would. That's actually a pretty cool thing going on for this particular device, because the performance of this phone is actually really that, it's really that decent. So the thing I'll tell you about this particular phone from that perspective is that if I'm going to go ahead and buy this phone, the basic things I would do on a phone is going to be perfectly fine for this particular device. Meaning, if I'm going to go ahead and buy this phone, it's going to be fine for a lot of things I kind of throw at it. Like if I'm going to go ahead and use this phone on if I'm going to do, let's say, playing Genshin Impact or some other game like that, perfectly fine. Like I definitely do like this phone from that particular perspective, which is actually very cool. The only issue that I have with this phone is that sometimes the software can be a little clunky, but beyond that, it's really not that terrible. And I do think the performance is probably one of the better things going on for this particular phone. The issue with this phone, which is very funny, is that the battery life really wasn't that great. It was a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. And once again, I feel like, that's a very big size battery, size to have, but I'm not too sure what happened. The performance quality of this particular device from that standpoint really wasn't that great from the battery life. I feel like they could have done a way better job from the battery life standpoint here. Again, I don't know what was going on here. Maybe I had a lemon or something like that, but that was something that was going on here at the boom. For the most part, that was just running these random issues with my battery life, to be honest. Like the OnePlus 11's battery life really wasn't that great from what I was seeing. So to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I will definitely tell you is these phones are, great. I like these phones a lot. I love OnePlus, but this is not that great of a phone. I feel like they could have easily done a better job here. And that was kind of the issue that was going on. I look at this particular phone and I'm just not too sure what was going on. I feel like OnePlus could have easily done a better job here. And the OnePlus 12 I still have to review. But with this particular device, that was a really weird thing that was going on. I guess we'll see what happens in the future. But as of right now, I think the OnePlus 11, it's a good phone for the most part. But there are definitely better phones that you can buy. Phones like the Google Pixel 8 or the Google Pixel 7. Phones like the Samsung Galaxy S23. These devices may be better options for you than something like this device. So that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.